Good evening friends. Today our topic of discussion is India-UAE-Israel trilateral trade could reach US dollars 110 billion by 2030. An event was organized by the International Federation of Indo-Israel Chambers of Commerce IFIICC on Sunday, April 4, 2021 to discuss the ongoing business collaborations to US dollars 100 billion by 2030. UAE is a gateway to the world, and this trilateral with India and Israel could benefit the world. Bilateral trade between India and UAE is $60 billion and between India and Israel is $5 billion. It could be said that trilateral trade between India, UAE and Israel would be around $68 billion, which would almost be double to $110 billion in the next 9 years by 2030. After signing of Abraham Agreement between UAE and Bahrain with Israel in August-September 2020, normalizing of relations between the Gulf countries and Israel, a lot of interest has been generated in this trilateral partnership with several events organized by various organizations including leading banks. Ran Tutnar, Honorary President of IFIICC in Israel and Chairman of Manufacturers Association of Israel, participated in the event virtually from Tel Aviv. He said that international business through the UAE in collaboration with India using Israeli innovation will be the future. IFIICC was launched on December 14, 2020 and thereafter its offices are being set up globally to get support of the Indian expatriates the world over. The European Business School ESCP in a seminar organized recently also highlighted the global potential of trilateral ties between Israel, the UAE and India. India's population is 130 crores and that of Israel is 91 lakhs and UAE 98 lakhs. Trade between India and UAE is $60 billion and UAE has constantly remained India's important trade partner, and there is balanced trade between the two countries. This concept of trilateral trade between India, Israel and UAE is Israel's idea, and they say that in the near future trilateral pact will also be signed between the three countries. After PM Modi came to power, he had visited various Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE, but also visited Iran. PM Modi maintained balance between Saudi Arabia and UAE on the one hand and Iran on the other. On the other hand, PM Modi had visited Israel, but he also paid a visit to Palestine, and balanced relations were maintained even between Israel and Palestine. India already has done the groundwork in the Gulf countries. India exports various consumable and non-consumable items to the Gulf countries, but imports mainly oil. Now, Israel is planning to build a railway network from its Haifa port located in the Mediterranean Sea to Saudi Arabia's Al Jubair, which will pass through Jordan and link to UAE. So, in case India has to send its goods to Europe, then Indian goods could be offloaded at UAE, and from there it could be sent by train to Israel's Haifa port. From there, these goods could be sent to Turkey and Europe. If India sends its goods to Israel's Haifa port on the Mediterranean Sea, and it would bypass Suez Canal and save a lot of money which is paid in the form of tariff. This way, Israel could be India's transit hub for trade with Europe. This will also increase India's trade with UAE, Saudi Arabia and Israel. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.